live. Oh God, thank God.
Yeah.
What's happening right now?
Going live in 3, 2.
The dogs want in?
So Rachel just popped in she's going to come in and talk on the panel.
No, she didn't want to be on the panel. She just wanted to be able to like say stuff, like give feedback.
Right. So she's trying to get into the panel right now, but I'm not going to let her in.
Oh. Is she going to be able to get in the other way? That was the whole thing.
I think you all are confused.
We are very.
She chat.
We'll agree on that. No, I like bought her a ticket, but it was too late because I fucked
No,
up.
it wasn't too late.
Well, she couldn't. She said it kept circling and she couldn't make it work.
Are we live right now?
Yes, we are live right now. Hey! Yes, so we are.
I'm gonna tell. Okay. Sorry, I can't. Things are coming up. Don't wait for it.
It's live. It's good. Like things.
It was just yelling at me.
Me?
Can I tell Rachel how to get on if she's watching? Rachel, I hope you refresh your YouTube. Huh? I hope you refresh your YouTube. Click the link that I sent you and you can give feedback on the chat. So it's all there. You're going to type but not be in the Zoom meeting.
You refresh your YouTube, you should be doing the chat. We're on live right now. Oh my God.
Okay, yeah, so we are live. We are here doing the talkback for the Blossoming 2021 play series. We just had the first ever virtual showing of the Donkey Skin Sisters, and I firmly believe that talkbacks are an opportunity for us to process the production as a community. So let's get into it. We're gonna pause and take a deep breath as a crew. So let's do it. Awesome. Look, we are already connecting. Incredible. Thanks so much to you guys who are watching from home. I just want to let y'all know that the chat is live, so I will be watching. You guys can pop any questions that you might have for the cast and crew right here in the chat, and then I will read them as we go along. As we start, I'd like everyone to introduce themselves. So give us your name, pronouns, what role you played within the project, and then popcorn somebody else to go. So I'll go first. My name is Jocelyn. I am the moderator. My pronouns are she, they, and I'm gonna pick Caitlin. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I am the director and also the executive producer of the Blossoming series as a whole, and my pronouns are she, her. Holly.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Holly. I'm the writer of the Donkey Skin Sisters and also the moderator for the writers group for all the Blossoming plays in process. And I go she, her. Charlotte.
Hey, I'm Charlotte. I played Billy in this wonderful play with the vagrancy that I'm so stoked on. A she, her, I guess I'd be fine with they. I'm learning and I'm open. So let's talk. Catherine is my sister and she'd be next.
And it's me last. I'm Catherine. My pronouns are she, hers, and I played Cameron. I'll bounce it back to Jocelyn.
Incredible. Thank you guys so much for joining tonight. So I'd like to ask a question to get us started, but like I said before, you guys who are watching from home, please pop your questions in the chat so that we can all collectively process this production. So first, of course, Holly, can you tell us about your journey in writing this? How did the story take shape in your mind, and what was the inspiration for this?
Well, the inspiration's been a bit kind of personal, but obviously I don't know anyone that's gone through death row, but just the family dynamics, and then sisterhood was on my mind, and this particular question that Cameron keeps asking through the play, which is how does one person end up on one path and another on a very different path, even though they come from the same background. And that was the impetus of the play. The structure came to me pretty quickly when I knew I wanted it to be really drastically different and dramatically different in terms of death row and, about to get married kind of thing, or start a life with a partner. So that was the impulse and the beginnings of the play. And of course, I wanted to just ask some bigger relationship questions around trauma and how that affects sisterhood.
I love how you articulated that. I think, yeah, I mean, just thinking, I just watched it. So of course, like reflecting and thinking about that juxtaposition. I mean, obviously it's stated in the play, but I didn't really think about like how different like the stages of life for those two main characters are. I think, yeah. Can you elaborate a little bit more on like your personal experiences and what led you to writing, especially Billy the way that you did?
I feel like Cameron and Billy are amalgamation of me and then the women in my life. I'm actually an only child. I've never had a sister, but I've had a lot of cousins, and I grew up with a lot of aunts and like just a lot of women around me. So the two characters are amalgamations of, I guess, the women in my family. And yeah, we all experienced severe trauma, sexual trauma. So just that's kind of where the personal aspect comes from, I guess. And using these two as kind of, again, an amalgamation of those women coming out. And Billy particularly is this kind of a little bit of me, but another strong woman in my life, family woman in my life.
That's awesome. I mean, so Charlotte, you played Billy. Can you tell us about your own personal inspiration for her character, and like how did you pull from your own like personal experiences in that role, or did you just kind of feel her out from the script?
Yeah, both. I definitely like completely relate to her thought process and the way that like her mind reacts to anything, and like how like pistol fire hot it becomes quickly, and then how like loving and fun it can be in a moment too, and that's very much something that I am and relate to, but like the story that Holly created like around that kind of character. I mean, it's not about that character. I think that I don't know what's more important, the story or the character. I don't know. I mean, that's more Holly would know that, or maybe we don't know that. But for me, I understood her, and I understood her inside the character because of who I am, which is a very similar temperament and has been through shit. And I think that's part of like what's, like you may or may not have had to have gone through shit to understand this play, but I think that those that have, it's really going to impact them. And maybe those that haven't, it's going to allow them to understand. And so for me, it was just an opportunity to go through that like in a safe place, like, and then with such just a beautiful story to it that felt fulfilling.
Yeah, I don't know how personal I want to get on the call. I mean, I'll do it, for the vulnerability perspective. I personally have like experienced a lot of similar traumas in my life, and yeah, it was a very emotional play. But I do think that like the way that both you, Charlotte, and Catherine played those two characters, and just like the connection that you guys were able to come up with, even through Zoom, was really felt. Catherine, and Charlotte, of course, both of you. Can you guys answer this question I have about how did you guys connect? Did you just like find that spark while like reading, or did you guys also like talk separately outside of like your rehearsals?
We really just we found that connection just through rehearsing, and we're very lucky. Holly gave us an amazing script that we didn't have to work too hard to find that connection between the sisters because it was all there in the writing. It was really easy for us.
It's so funny because like watching it. Sorry, did I hear something? Watching it, like I knew when I was watching her what she was giving me, but getting to rewatch it and see how much it was landing, and to see the dynamic was so cool, because it was like, wow, that like, okay, this is what it looks like as a whole, because you are kind of like you're like throwing caution to the wind with Zoom, and you're like, I'm gonna go for this, like I think I see you and you see me, and
you're staring at a script, reading it, so you can't really
and
connect
also
with the
kind of
other
like
person.
glance at them. Exactly, glance at them, sometimes glancing at yourself. We all do. But like
We're all guilty of it.
But yeah, there's so just today, like watching it before, I was like, Catherine, what the fuck? She's incredible, like incredible. So that was all there, like we could hear it, but I don't know that like we like got it throughout, like it, or like I think we're all trying to make something happen in this particular medium, which is and I think it might have been a subliminal connection. Like, I don't know.
It was definitely a challenge to find that connection over Zoom because, like we said, we didn't get the eye contact. And I feel like I get a lot of energy as an actor from eye contact, from actual connection. And missing that was hard, but it seems like we made it work.
I know. You nailed it. Well,
I'll take credit on casting too.
Get in there, Caitlin.
Absolutely. Yes.
Caitlin Casta.
No, but watching it back, I was like, oh, because when we filmed it, it's like these little chunks, right? And so the bigger picture is harder to explore than when you're doing it live. And so I finally got to see it, or in person rather than live. I finally got to see it all together. And I was like, oh, wow, like this is obvious, but to see it all, I could see how equal and opposites you two are, which I felt like also made the connection because you're so very different. And it's like, oh, the person who's kind of like built this wall and a facade and is like, kind of holding it all in. And then the person who's like, pushing it all out, and how they balance each other.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I just want to say, like, both of their performances has really served the play. Like they're saying, like the where it lands, I could feel it, and their relationship. It's just such a joy and such a necessary part of that process to keep growing the play, to have such great actors and directors putting forth the play in its entirety as it is now.
Yeah, you all did a beautiful job with that. I think part of what made it so emotional is that, like, I could really see my sister in Catherine. Like, I'm an older sister, and so I could see, like,
you're Billy. Come on, let's get involved.
So yeah, I thought that was really beautiful. It was really believable that you guys were siblings. So there's a question from the audience. Shantae Brown, shout out to you. Asks Holly, what role has music played in your life? It plays such a strong and valuable character in this play. Why did you want to tell this story through country music?
Yeah. Well, when I first started writing the play, I thought it was going to be much more of a musical. I even had that in the title. And I thought it would be like a country number every few, minutes, or not minutes, but at least a couple or 3 every day kind of thing. But it just slowly became something different. It just wasn't wanting that much music, and it was kind of, I don't know, it's hard with Zoom and with that process, because things like that can get dragged in Zoom a little bit more. But I think it was after the first reading maybe that we decided, okay, just let's really strip it down to like 5 songs. But the country music's so important, and it felt like that way to me even more so watching this now in full, because I didn't get to see like any of the music till now, like done by the characters. And it just did such an amazing, like, grounded the play in their history and their frivolity, and all the fun, and also the sorrow of the play, I think, lives there. Like, we called it like vertical energy lives there, our emotional kind of movement, even though obviously there's other ways that's moved throughout the play, but for sure the music does that. And sorry, I have a screaming baby too.
No need to apologize. Not at all.
Vertical energy, if I may.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, like,
Okay, good.
Like, what does like mean?
Yeah.
Well, most of the play is vertical, right? Like, it's not plotting us along. Like, I think Caitlin said that at some point before we went live, but it's not like a plot point, just like a car like zooming us into like through a highway of events. It's more like just sit in this energy, kind of thing. And it's just more emotional kind of thing.
Okay, cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I feel like that's true. Like, when you unpack trauma, it's like the only way to heal is to feel, and I think that that is really felt, like Billy just having to feel, and so true Cameron as well, in their different like flashbacks and their different like conversations, like having to just like sit in it, which is like, something that we don't want to acknowledge is like a huge part of like the healing journey, is like you just have to stew sometimes.
Or in our world in general. Like, that's one of my fears about the play, is that we're not, as a culture, like really interested in that too much. A lot of the times it's like go go go, so
it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
There's another question from the audience. I'm sorry if I butcher your name. Inika asks, I'm so sorry. Caitlin, I know you're an intimacy director, so I'm curious about your processes and practices with the cast regarding self-care, especially given the subject matter of the show. Also, sorry if you already saw this. I wanted to copy and paste just to make sure it didn't get lost in chat.
Well, over Zoom, it's this whole other thing, but we did use, I think we did it at the first read and the mini workshop, and I think at the beginning, correct me if I'm wrong, like to give the word of button, which is used by TIE training, theatrical intimacy education, to say, like, if you're experiencing something where a boundary is being crossed for you during this process, and also I put out like a content warning in the offer, like, this play is being written and it deals with these themes. There was a content warning at the beginning, of the reading. So I just put that out in the offer and said, and things are going to come up. We might not know how we're going to feel. So if at any point in the process you feel like you need to tap out and say button, we'll just stop and everything will pause. We'll go on a break. You can text me privately and tell me what you need. Maybe you need to end rehearsal. Maybe you just need to take a 5, but so that was the system that we had in place, for that.
There's been such generosity and sensitivity throughout this process the entire time. Like, just point that out. But like, yeah, in terms of like what that is, I understand. I was just going to chime in as I'm curious about what that process is of intimacy coaching. And, and I think for me, like with us, I think what makes Caitlin so great is that she like can read what you need. So like she's not gonna like work you on something or like push something where it's not necessary. Like if you're ready and you're going, like you go. And that's what I felt with her, is that I just felt like checked in on and like and available, like she's available and like, are you good? And then she knew. So that was nice just to add on to
Aw, thanks, Charlotte.
that.
Yeah, well, also the field of intimacy is changing too, in terms of, as an intimacy director, what it is. So, it started out as, being just about the choreography of like a sex scene or a kiss, and now it's kind of expanding into this world where it's more emotional. Like, there's where we're dealing with things that are potentially triggering, and trauma. Most people, not all, I say, are bringing in their trauma into the room. So how do we avoid it from being therapy, but also that there's this balance, because you don't want to try to make it therapy, but we have to tap into our emotional life to be able to tell the story. Doesn't mean to remember our trauma or to relive it, but the honesty of the emotion has to be there. We're responding truthfully under the imaginary circumstances, having real stakes under that. So yeah, I mean, I don't think, if we were really doing this play, there would definitely need to be like an intimacy. Like if I was a director, I would want an intimacy director separate that was like their kind of working on self-care, and if things came up for people, because
their focus. Yeah. Especially because there is literally like intimacy, sexual moments, too.
Oh yeah, there is. I guess because it was on Zoom, there is the moment between the dad, right?
Yeah.
That's the one like choreographed. That would
Right.
need to be like a choreographed moment. Yeah.
And then I just want to say too, like Caitlin and I would chat at the end of every rehearsal as well, and just leave space for me as well, which was really nice, and I felt always really supported, especially since it was such a personal play, obviously.
That's awesome. I just want to read what Inika said in response. They said, thanks for the answer, Caitlin. It's refreshing to see more work from directors who are emotionally intelligent and sensitive to the needs of the actors. I agree. Thank you for, being so awesome at being a director.
I've learned over the years, I will say, there could be a lot of actors watching this like, what? Things have changed. So I'll say that. I've gotten better. I still have a ways to go, long ways to go.
I can't imagine anyone having a complaint about Caitlin at all.
Okay, we'll take that. I'll take it.
I'm just saying. Okay, so this is a question for all of you. So there's a line a bit earlier on. I'm not trying to spoil anything, but there is a line earlier on in the play where Cameron says, what makes someone resilient and someone else drown? I think that's such a heavy line, and probably that's part of the reason why it's rhetorical in the play. But I wanted to ask you all, do you have your own speculations on the answer for that question?
Oof. That's a hard one.
I know.
I feel like there are just so many factors.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I feel like at the end of the play, the way it's written now, the way I take it is that Cameron says it doesn't really matter. I can't obsess about it. I just have to accept it and like have hope. And that's the most important thing. And yeah, I feel like that's a whole like crazy question of like nature versus nurture, and like your DNA profile, then like how you were raised. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, guilty, like are you the lucky one? Like, should she feel guilty because she's lucky, or is it like also the way like fundamentally the way that we like see ourselves. Like we have, like I personally like have an idea of myself where I like feel a little rough and tumble. Like I feel like lucky when things like happen well for me. And like if they don't, I'm like, well, that's my life. Like that's me. Like, but there's people in my life, like there's so many people in my life that things just like should happen good for. And I know that. And I feel that. And I'm like, well, which is like the line for me to Cameron, which is like, well, you should have, well, you're the one who should have children. And obviously I can see it's gonna be good for you. So I think it's like also a little bit just about like the way we see ourselves in a weird way and how we've all of that same, it does go back to nature versus nurture with Caitlin saying though, but yeah, I don't like expect that of myself personally. Like I'm like, I kind of expect it to be like a shit show sometimes and hope for the best.
I think too that there's a big part, like we talked about earlier, of being able to sit with your trauma, be able to work through it, being able to feel it. If you're not willing to sit and do the work and feel those feelings and be uncomfortable, are things going to get better? Probably not. You have to get uncomfortable and work through those feelings and be willing to move forward and make changes.
Yeah. Which is such a responsible like way of handling it.
And or maybe potentially like I don't know, privileged way of handling it too in some ways. Like if you're drowning, how can you sit, and I don't know.
That's what I mean. Like Billy would never be like, I wouldn't like sit and like, I'm not gonna like trauma, but like someone, like most of us like have the privilege of like understanding that would benefit us. And like, but not everybody is near that. Like, it's their life. And
they're like with Billy, like she's just grappling it where she can, like, so like that's the original song, for example, I think is like her therapy or her way of dealing with it. But it's like the one little thing she could do,
Yeah.
I think I like what Caitlin was saying. And I think that's kind of where I was leaning with the play is like, you could think about it forever, or the biggest factor might be luck. It might not be, who knows, kind of thing. Yeah.
So do you think that the characters are fundamentally different though, Holly? Like who Billy is at the core and who Cameron is at the core?
Yeah, I think they're different because they're unique individuals.
Sure.
Yeah. But is that answering your question? I don't know.
Kind of, yeah. No, it's just like, it's just the whole nature versus nurture. Like it's not just nature.
I think, also like they even though they were like from the same background, they had different experiences too. Like, just they did probably with their father, and
they're built differently.
Yeah.
Right.
And when they separate though, after the fair, Billy goes and lives with granddad and dad, right?
And dad.
So we don't
coming to live with me now.
Yeah. So there's like that. But we saw, what she was doing in the library even before that. So yeah, it seems like there is like a fundamental different people.
Yeah, exactly.
But then
they were always different.
But also fundamentally different, like trauma too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting. And I also recognize that it was a hard question and it's difficult to speculate about something so deep, and that's why you the whole play about it. So I figured I'd ask something a little more complicated. Inika has another question. Shout out to you. Holly, as a sexual assault survivor, I wanted to say that Cam's line, "You become something new, someone you have to live with," was such a profound line and made me think about my trauma in a new way. it was such a beautiful way of putting into words the feeling that I've been feeling for years. Well done, and thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Annika. Thank you. Yeah, that's how I feel. And especially like that's why it's, I think Kim also, talks about it a bit, but when that happens to you as a child, your foundation is then you never really know yourself. That's the feeling. You never really understand yourself because you're so torn and split from a very fundamental psychic way, like your psyche is in that way. So I'm glad that it means a lot to me to hear someone resonate with some of these lines that Kim is processing.
Yeah. I can speak from my own perspective. I think I look at it as like, there was me, and now there is the me who got back up afterwards, that's a lot. Button. That's a lot.
Move on.
Yeah. Move on. Next. No questions
thank you
asked.
so much. Yeah. let's ask a new question. Okay. Were there moments of the play that surprised you guys? Maybe either like while seeing it, for the first time in full, or like while either directing, writing, or starring in it.
I think for me-
okay, go ahead, Caitlin.
All right, yeah.
I'll just jump in. One of the things that I want to hear from the audience perspective too, which is one of the big things that we're playing with, was like how much of the fairy tale is in there, and like there's been extremely different drafts where there's like a little bit of fairy tale, where there's a ton of fairy tale, where there's a medium fairy tale. And so I don't want to say where it ended up, but I'm curious as to what, if the people want to put in the chat, like if they felt like they wanted to know more about the whole donkey skin fairy tale, if they felt like it was just enough, like with the whole sun and moon and stuff. So for me, one moment that was like a revelation, and I like texted Holly about it after our last rehearsal, or maybe our second to last one, our last one with Dad, where I was like, like woke up like, I missed that. Like I missed at the end of the fair scene where he says they're getting a divorce, and then Billy says, you're going to give us he's like, I'll give you the sky like you always wanted. And then she's like, and the sun and the moon and the sun. And in the fairy tale, that is when the princess like makes demands of her father. So it feels like it's such an important moment, because that's like, in terms of the fairy tale and maybe then the story, where in that moment is that where they're kind of like pushing a domino over? Are they then like, in terms of like who's culpable, are they like becoming an active participant in this because then they're making demands on him to bring those things? Because in the story of the donkey skin, she's avoiding him, marrying her, right, by making these demands, and she's putting it off, but then it ends up being the thing that makes her have to wear the donkey skin. But in the end, it's ultimately the dad's fault, but there are these things that they kind of have done along the way. And so anyways, it just was this big moment that I realized was like, oh, this is like a pivotal moment in the story, but I didn't really highlight it in the way I wanted, and I didn't like feel like I explored it enough, and it just kind of like felt like it was really important. So I was like, add thunder. Make it rain in editing, just to like pop it somehow.
So do you think she was challenging him though?
I just felt like the moment was super important because of how it goes with the fairy tale and like the story of the fairy tale. So I don't know. Did your power just go? Oh no, there it goes.
Automatically.
Like, you guys don't get it at all. I'm leaving.
I gotta move sometimes.
So anyways, that was a moment for me. So I'm interested if audience has any feedback on that. And then also, Holly, any thoughts you have on what I just blah blah.
Yeah, I think there's something missing in that point with the fair. And I'm not exactly sure what within the fairy tale too. I'm very interested about the fairy tale because even in the middle of filming, we just decided to cut the whole thing, I think. And There was a lot more at times. The other thing I'm really curious about is, we got the question, but around music. And to me, I was surprised. That was the question. One of the things you were asking, I was surprised how much it really did fit in and really helped the play. But I'm curious how others, felt that. For me, I was really surprised how well it was. And man, Charlotte, you made me laugh so much, and it was so much fun.
Hey, when that's called character singing. When you can't sing, you just do fun shit.
You sing so well.
You sounded great.
Let me call out Rachel Sorsa, my girl. I don't know if you're listening, but
Rachel.
Yeah, dude. I couldn't have done like you should have heard me before. Just a terrified little quivering branch.
No.
And she was like, no, you can do all of this. And I'm not saying it was good, but if you say it is good. What we did is good. So I will not also diminish that.
Yeah.
It's a hard process to not have confidence about singing. So if that can be a topic, not that I want to get into that.
I think it was
as something
Billy.
True. It's as an actor, I'm a straight actor, and I had to say this is not a musical, but this requires singing. So it was and I love this role and I love this character and it meant a lot to me. So I learned how to sing these songs best I could. And and it's monumental. And that's not overstating it. Now I know I can do it when I want to and when I need to and when it's in me. And this role was in me and I love it so much. So I'm glad I was able to come up with something that hopefully was.
I think you had perfect Janis Joplin vibes. I think it was perfect for Billy.
Yeah.
Take it really.
And this is my opera singer partner. The most glorious, just your voice when you talk. We don't need to talk. We don't need to bloviate each other up the whole time on a talk back. But your voice, your literal talking voice, I'm ooh, it's so pretty. So yeah, it was a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie. I worked my ass off to try to figure out how to. Mainly, I stressed for 4 weeks about it, and then was get her done. And then
right under the wire.
All part. Yeah. Oh yeah. Last night.
Just so everyone knows.
It came through last night.
No
and
way.
It was let's piece this together.
She sent it last night / this morning because she's in a Pacific time, and so then I'm sending it to Catherine, and I'm wait, no, was it 2 nights ago? Wait,
2 nights, but
2 nights ago.
Isn't real.
It doesn't matter.
But still,
I was recording on top of it yesterday.
Yeah, Catherine was well, I'm working all day, and I'm it premieres tomorrow. Can you get? She's 9 o'clock at night, trying to sing on it.
If any of you actors, if any actors are listening to this, I get you when you're scared to sing. And also any directors sorry. Caitlin can give you sympathy. It was terrifying. It was really hard. It was but now I'm gonna be I'm gonna forever be gonna be different from this experience because it's
well,
I can do it, and it's who I you wrote a role that made me know that I can speak it anyway. In my soul, it's there.
I came up with that because I sent a little. It's not the exact same version, but I sent a version that I came up with of "Take a Little Piece of My Heart" to our music person Jen Hartman. Really amazing.
Yes.
Really amazing arrangements. But I sent her what I was thinking for "Take a Little Piece of My Heart," and that was the first thing before any word was written. I knew that song. And when I heard it today was the first time I heard it with Charlotte or Billy doing it. And it was exactly how I wanted it and how I imagined it. It was just so perfect.
It was so emotional. I tell you, none of that fear comes through at all in any of the songs.
That's Rachel's source. I do have to like give her that. Like, gave me like a place to be. But thank you.
That's a real friend.
Like that's Holly, and that's the writing, and that's like the arrangement.
Yeah. No, I mean you crushed it. Both of you, obviously, but like for you to be so scared, like
So scared.
None of that came through at all.
Just like stressed.
Full confident.
I've been stressed
Full,
for
like,
2 months.
yeah, full Billy. Like really, like you really did it. It was incredible.
Thank you.
Also, Catherine,
I still don't think it's great, but it's fine. But like anybody who's like scared of that, just do it. Just like get into it. Love it. Like just, boy, it's worth it to just try to not try and be like, I can't do it. Because I was like, if I can't do it, then they won't cast me later. I have to figure out how to do it. So somehow, even if I can like muster up enough, maybe I'll have a shot because of this role. But then I realized how much the music is part of it, and like working on it made it like, I understand. I was always like, fuck you musical theater-y people. Like, I don't care about like the way in which you sing like the song. Like I didn't feel it a lot. Like sometimes you do. You know, I mean, like there's just a few like Les Mis song, whatever. But like, now I get like how that's another part of what I have to say or want to say or the author needs me to say. So I don't know. It's just it's been a huge growth thing for me. That's all I'm saying, is that anyone who's afraid to sing too, that is like a straight actor, like I'm a straight actor, like you can do it and you can figure it out, and you can find like Rachel Source at hotmail.com. No,
Is Rachel in the chat?
Yeah.
Did Rachel pop into the chat?
Yes. Yep.
What'd she say?
Rachel.
She answered your questions and then also said, hi, I'm here. Yes, I'm so happy to hear that. Proud of you, Charlotte. Yeah, I was going to take us back to the question that Caitlin originally asked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So about the fairy tale as like a part of the plot. Inika says, I personally felt like there was an appropriate amount of fairy tale. I'd be intrigued to see how a live staging of it would portray the fairy tale through more than just the dialogue. The fairy tale as a plot device that kind of unites the sisters makes sense because I felt that it was one of the only points of sentiment that was keeping Cam attached to Billy after all that Billy did. Good. And then Rachel said, more fairy tale as the through line would be great. In full production, design and imagery would help dynamics. I also agree with that. I think imagining like the more emotional scenes in person, I think that there's so much that, could be done with like body language, as well as like all of the visuals that are described. Like the scene, I'm not gonna go too hard into it, but like all of the like costume detailing, I thought that would have been like really cool to see as well. I think that that's like a really interesting addition that like in real life could add. Also, Catherine said, I didn't feel like I missed the fairy tale as I was watching, but I would love to see more of it incorporated into the story. Thanks so much, you guys, for answering that question.
I just want to pop in and say that I just want to double down on the whole like elements, because I feel like, because we have had a version where there's way more fairy tale. So I'm like seeking from that. And I think that popping on the elements kind of hits the nail on the head, because there's so many opportunities in sound and set and costume to bring the fairy tale in. And maybe like, it's like, maybe that's just a note in the script that says that should be performed, you know, with that in mind, designed with that in mind or something, you know, so that it's being highlighted. I don't know.
Yeah. No, totally.
So another question we had, and you know, people can, if people watch this afterwards, can obviously can they keep chatting on this even throughout the week? Yeah.
No. Can they? Oh, they can make comments.
Yeah, they can make comments afterwards.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'd love to hear other people's comments around that. But the other thing is that we talked about as a cast crew is like, when does it get revealed that Billy killed her own children? And so we'd really love to hear from people, like, did that come too soon? Because at one point it was like sooner. At one point, Caitlin was like really thinking it should be not till the very last scene that she's killed her children. Or do people already kind of guess that from the beginning? I wonder.
Yeah, suspense versus surprise. Like, did you think she probably did? Did you know she did? Like, did you not know till she revealed? Like, what was your experience with that journey as a whole? And was there anything you would have want changed?
Do you want me to answer?
Sure.
Yeah.
Until the audience does? Okay.
Yeah.
So personally, I mean, I knew that, like, I knew murder was an element, you know, because of death row. Like, I think that that's typically how sentencing works, but I definitely didn't know like what you know, the murder was like what happened, you know what I mean? And I also think that it really adds to the story, just like wanting to know like what happened, wanting to know the truth. And I think just throughout there's an element of like holding that song in, holding your truth in. And so I thought that it was fitting that it didn't come until the end, because neither does the song that you know, that she wanted Cameron to sing. So, you know, I thought
the question was whether it came actually too early or not.
Oh, I don't think it came too early.
So it was like this revealing of when the bomb was dropped, and then it wasn't really addressed, and it comes later. Was like, was that like a time for us to process that, or did that like ruin the effect of like what we're leading up to in this journey?
I don't think so, because you don't really get all of the answers. You know what I mean? Like, I think until there's that conversation, it doesn't feel real.
Which one?
The conversation between Billy and Cameron.
Of her telling the details of it.
Yeah, like telling everything that happened that day.
So when she says earlier, she has just the one line after the monologue where she's like, "Oh, that's why I killed two of them." Did you experience anything visceral with that, or what? Like, was there a reveal, or was it? It wasn't until the later part where it really hit.
Did that even clock?
It didn't clock.
It didn't clock.
No,
it didn't even clock. Okay, well, that's information.
Yeah, no, like it really didn't click for me, and I was reading it too.
I see how it wouldn't, because it feels it's a lot to say. Yeah. And oh, you mean that time I killed my?
Yeah.
Well, she throws it out really casually.
Yeah,
it's cat. Well, yeah, and then maybe that's a. Maybe I was thinking, I'm not good, but how do you deliver that?
I have to say that when I was watching that, I also felt like directorially I made a boo-boo there and should have had like a much larger reaction from Cameron, and like we could have like had something like settle. And if it was on the full stage, the guard's there, and I mean he would be in the shadow, so it's not like he'd be like but we could like feel the tension in the room shift. And there's other times where we're kind of building up to that, so I think that tension could be like peppered throughout a little bit. But I definitely think that the bomb, and when the information really comes out is that monologue. You know, seems
But the
like.
question is like how did people like take it, or did it? Because
Anyone answering? Anyone on the chat?
So Inika is saying, I have to admit I did not clock that drop either. And then Rachel said, I did not know, because I think in the draft, I read that she had killed a random family as a projection in a drug-induced.
an early one though.
Yeah, that was early.
Yeah. So for me,
Great, you got the inside scoop.
I took it as like a abortion, to be honest.
Oh,
Like
Oh.
that's how I received it.
right. Who would immediately
Yeah.
think that killing my two kids meant that?
I didn't think that.
Who would-
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like for
makes
sure, I
sense.
didn't until the end. Yeah.
Okay.
Because there was like,
It's serious, maybe, but that's good to know that you wouldn't think that's what that meant.
yeah, because
Yeah.
there was also talk about abortion earlier on, too, and that's why I took it as that. And then like in my own personal experience, I was also projecting like, you know, thinking like she killed her abuser, or something like that.
Was
Catherine,
there a point at which you like thought Billy was a bad guy, and then a point at which you changed your mind? I think that's like somewhat what's important about this process, is that like she fucked up, but also there was, I don't know, I could be wrong from Holly or like Caitlin, tell me.
Well, yeah, I know. I just think like the question is, how do people feel about Billy? Like, I
Yeah,
think Cameron
like,
is like
yeah.
pretty likable,
Yeah.
right? So like, did you like her? Did you hate her? Did you love to hate her? What
Yeah.
points was she not redeemable?
Yeah.
When was she redeemable? Just like a general like consensus on that character,
Yeah,
or thoughts on that character.
on Cameron or Billy, or which
On Billy, Cameron, I think we were
On
pretty
Billy.
likable, right? I
Okay,
mean,
we're saying on
any
Billy.
thoughts on Cameron?
On Billy, what's your overall? Would you hang out with her? No. Like,
How do
want
people?
to party with her or not?
I am interested on how people felt about like the monologue speaking to the audience, and her being our main storyteller and our main source. You know, if that worked for people.
I'm putting those questions in the chat as well.
There you go.
I liked Billy because I felt like Billy was a lot like my mom. Like my mom has experienced a lot of childhood trauma, and is just like really dead set on like not going to therapy and like not working through it and like stuff like that. But she also is like, you know, because of that, rough around the edges, and like not always what people want her to be, but she's herself. And that's something I really liked about Billy's character. Yeah, that's just my personal take. I'm wondering what the audience has to say. Tell us in the chat. Let us know.
Tell us in the chat. What about Cameron's monologues?
So I think a few things. I think that Cameron having this like really complicated understanding of the other people in her life, and like especially, you know, of course her sister, just like not understanding why Billy is the way that she is like something that I've felt in my own life. And then the dramatic drop was so dramatic for me at the end, with like Billy revealing what really happened to Cameron, because I experienced similar things with my mother, just like not understanding why she was the way that she was, being really resentful of that, and then finding out about all of her childhood trauma, and also like just finding out the truth that she was holding in, and how that changed my perspective. I think part of what makes it such an emotional story is that Cameron is finding that truth out, maybe a little, a little too late, getting those answers before she can't anymore. I think that makes it really sad, just like not being able to get over that in her sister's life, and like have more of a connection and move past whatever that is. But I think that the monologue at the end gives it justice, where Cameron is doing the epilogue. I think, being able to see that character get to live a life that's worth living, even if it's just, by hearing those details, feels like we're ending on like a hopeful note, which is really nice. Yeah. Inika said, I honestly felt like Cam was more of a protagonist than Billy. Maybe a hot take.
Yeah, no, she's the protagonist. Cameron's the protagonist for sure. I think Billy, they're arguably dual, or Billy's the antagonist, depending on how you see it. But I just wonder if Billy was likable or hateable, or like where was that? Was she funny? I think she's funny, but I have a sick sense of humor, so I am laughing at that shit.
Well, thank you.
Catherine said, I think the monologues were good, but I don't think the play needs as much monologue as it has. A lot of what Cam says is coming across in the story and doesn't need to be explicitly restated. Inika adds, Caitlin said earlier that Billy was the one who drove the play more, but I walked away feeling like Cam was the one who drove it more. Maybe because I relate to her more.
So do
I don't know that I said when I said that. Maybe I meant emotionally. Like she's coming like at it. I don't know.
She's the forceful one
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Billy's the one that's the
like
driving the car.
Like do they like in the end, like, so I feel like I may be wrong, Holly, but in the end, like we're all like the storyteller and the protagonist. Like we're like everybody's like had like been through the ringer. Like everybody's had it. Like the systemic abuse and like the world of their lives have been shown by the end of this play. So for us, like whatever, what I don't even know what we're asking for from people, because they're gonna relate to the one that like they are, or like whatever it may be. Like, what do we need from people? Like for us to like ask them, like, do you get it? Do you like them? Like, who cares? Like, what do we care about? Like, I don't even know. Like, what does it matter?
I guess for me, there's like an anti-hero kind of thing that's popular right now, or, arguing like, oh, I don't like these characters, so I don't want to watch this show, or, I hear that a lot.
Like, what does that matter? Like, what do we care about them? Like, what do you care? What do you like, Caitlin? Like, what makes you, like, I mean, isn't that more?
Totally. But like,
we don't even know what anybody, you tell me.
As an artistic director and a producer, then I'm like, it's like when people at the end of the, film screen like a film, and then they take their little quizzes and then they change the ending depending on that, we don't have that.
You want to be that person?
No, but
they all like that. Diddly do.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just thought I felt like as a Holly, correct me if you don't think it's helpful, but just to get the feedback to know like for the next
Not that
draft.
this isn't like helpful. I didn't mean it that way at all. I hope that didn't sound like that. I just meant like sort of assholes that don't get Billy.
Okay.
Fuck you. No, I'm kidding, but like I just mean like what are we actually like look at when we ask for things, what is it gonna serve us? Because like in like people have a lot of opinions, and when you ask for them, you have to be like ready for them too.
Yeah, that's part of like
Wondering, like, what is
training
this
as an
thing?
artist too, right? Like
Yeah,
taking what you want and
yeah,
yeah, taking what you want and being strong where you can with what you think or what you believe.
you gotta know. You gotta like that's the is the hardest thing to do because it's like it's so vulnerable to be an artist, but like the hardest thing to do is know exactly what you want it to do and then like receive it and know how to like refine it, but also know how to say this is what I wanted to do. And I love what you wanted to do, Holly, and I think I know what you want to do, and Caitlin and Catherine and all of us. So, but like, let's hearing what everybody else like feels is so important too. And yeah, it's like it's a delicate balance.
I also feel like there's an element of, do you have to like a character or even like a story for it to be good?
Yeah.
No,
I think
The story is painful to hear, but it's
I think yeah, I
good.
think you have to have an element of entertainment and you have to have an element of enjoyment. I believe it was Breck that said, you know, like it's a disservice to education to not have it be enjoyable, to have joy in it. So I think we're not going to actually like learn or get something from it if it's not entertaining, if it's not enjoyable.
Like don't be an asshole. This isn't like
No, you can be an asshole, but entertain us while you're
like
an asshole.
yeah. We're all
Billy
like,
does do that.
this is a play.
She's an entertaining asshole.
Yes, 100%. And Brecht, if we want to talk about Brecht, we don't want to.
We might.
But the sign, like this is what I'm trying to do. And then we do it. So you don't have to like figure out what someone's trying to do. I love that. I love that. No one's with me on that. Woo, moving on.
In the audience, more people are elaborating on what they have to say now that we've prompted them a little bit more.
Unleash the beast.
Yeah.
I'm gonna view this.
Now that they know that they should get it. Inika said, I did laugh at Billy a couple of times. I enjoyed the comedic timing from Charlotte. Matthew said, I do like the characters. Billy comes off as human. All her tics and jokes make her believable and even funny. Inika elaborates and says, I agree. I didn't necessarily like or dislike her. I mostly just acknowledged that she did really bad things as a result of her difficult circumstances. I didn't feel like placing a judgment. And then Catherine said, ditto to Inika's thoughts.
Awesome.
Cool.
That's what you hope for when people interplay.
Yeah.
It's helpful and it also feels in line with what we were doing.
I think it's also like, because the characters are so human, it's like extremely complicated to ask people like, what are your opinions on this human?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's personal experiences on all of.
Yeah. Someone, Inika asked earlier, was it intentional to have one actor play all the male roles? If so, great choice. Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You, Caitlin.
He's at work.
He's so good.
My partner for people that don't know played all the roles.
That's your man's?
That's yeah.
Nobody knew. I mean,
I didn't know. That's awesome.
and vagrancy. But like I didn't know he was so good. He's so good.
Yeah.
Aw, he'll be flattered. I'll tell him. He's saving lives right now at the children's hospital.
So
Wow.
that's more like fuck act. Okay.
Oh no, he will be thrilled. Yeah, and then also just FYI, I guess for people, there was another guard, a woman guard, who also played Susan, and Susan was a character, and so there was actually at one point it was 4 people, and Susan got cut, but we saw that like fleshed out, and instead, yeah, so yeah, there was 2 people playing a bunch of different, several characters,
You're
not a
really
bunch.
smart. Like
Oh, this
I don't know. It'd be cool if you guys talked about how you made that decision.
Yeah. Can you?
this whole process I was about to like say was like a pruning of a like tree or something. It would like grow, and then I'd have to like prune like big chunks of the play, like whole characters, and then the fairy tale. And at one point, it was as I think it was Rachel that said it. She didn't kill her children; she killed someone else's family. So that had to get like cut. Like it's been a huge pruning process, basically.
I keep joking with Holly. I'm like, #playwriting on the edge. Like it just feels like it's like everything. Like what's gonna happen next? Like what's?
Oh, yeah, we would
what's
just
the
get
future?
pages in the email. Like you would just get emailed pages, and I was like, oh my god, what's happening now?
What's gonna happen?
Yeah, there's a lot of changes, but it was delightfully so.
Yeah, so fun.
Yeah, they were all great changes, and
Yeah.
I would read the new pages and be like, oh, this is good. This is better.
I'm like on board with the fairy tale. I just think it's the way in which it's told that might need the refining and not like the eliminating. Because like you make like this is a Greek, like we're going Greek. Like this is a deep, like this is a beautiful story and I love the depth of that. To me, that the story brings us into like a Greek, it makes it epic. And it like gives us that Joseph Campbell like drawback of like everything that ever was is always is.
Yeah.
I like that about it. And so it doesn't mean that like it worked. Like I'm sure like I'm not arguing with my director, Caitlin, who like probably like had an opinion, which is like this isn't working because it's a lot of storytelling before we get to our own story. But like there is something about that that's like that can like build a story and end it in such a beautifully epic way. And I think it's a work in progress in that sense. Because I do see how it was too much, but I think it could be just enough.
Yeah, I like what you're saying about the Greek and the epicness of it. Yeah.
Well, like every story has been told like over and over again, right? Like that's why, y'all, if you haven't read like any Joseph Campbell and you want to like write stories.
Hero with 1,000 faces.
Hero with 1,000. Thank you. Thanks for chiming in. Is where to begin. I listen to that when I don't have anything else like on podcast. I go back to that and just listen. But really, like, I mean, just like the most brilliant like historian, storyteller of all time. And like it truthfully is all like this same sort of rhythm. And what Holly was doing was like drawing back on a story, like a folklore that would like bring us back subliminally, like to what's happening now. And that's I don't even want to call it, I don't know what to call it. I was about to say a trick. That's like so insulting, but it's just like it's like a part of storytelling. It's a part of like how we tell stories. We learn to tell them that way. So to honor that or to bring that in makes sense, like as part of your story. And it's still part of this one. But anyways, like I see what you're doing there, but I also see why Caitlin's like it's not like the story's so good. What you wrote is so good. Like it doesn't need like a lot of that. Like it maybe just a little flicker. Can someone mute me?
Why?
Because I'm just I don't know if anyone's listening anymore, but y'all, if you're like,
We're all like resonating. Like,
are you though? Caitlin's like,
We love you, Charlotte.
You're like,
Love you so much.
my hair looks good. We're gonna have dinner. Please tell me you're having
All
dinner
right.
with my daddy. Ew.
I want to ask you guys.
Daddy.
I want to ask you another question. You guys have talked a lot tonight about like how this play will evolve and how it like evolved like while you guys were like in the midst of it. Can you guys tell me how you'll carry this experience like forward with you? Like I know Charlotte, you were talking about how like singing has like changed like your perspective. Can you all talk a bit about how this has like changed you, or how you plan to like move forward with this experience? Catherine, you go first.
Yeah, so this was an interesting experience for me because I was playing a character considerably older than I am, and that is a big challenge because there are some parts of life you can't portray until you get there. And you know, Cameron's at a different stage of life than me. She's 10 years older than me. And so I would love to sort of I would love to return to this role at some point, and just even just 10 years from now, just look at it again and see how much I resonate with it again, because I feel like this role was a big challenge for me, and I would love to see how in the future the role might resonate more with me. I think that would be very interesting to discover.
I will say that I found like a new, I've been doing new play development for quite a while, and this is the Vagrancy's 10th year of blossoming, and our first year of doing bi-coastal blossoming. But I stopped directing the play, like directing one of the plays and developing like, I don't know, 5 years ago or something. I did new play development a lot in kind of earlier on in my process, and then I just had a series of like of partnerships with playwrights that like I knew I wasn't serving the play. I knew I was not supporting them in the way that they wanted. I did not get their play in the way, it wasn't like a good match in the way that they were like feeling lifted up and that the play was getting better. And it kind of like kept happening. And I was like, I'm really passionate about new plays, and I feel like they need, like, getting that work out there is super important, but maybe it's like, I'm not the best person to like be directing it. Maybe I should just more focus on producing it. But then I had such a great experience with Holly, and I hope she felt the same way. So I felt like re-inspired, like, because I felt like our process was good. At least, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but that I was like, oh, we do mesh. I am like, this is working. Like, this is what it's like. And with Jen, who's who did the music, like all three of us, it was like, bzz, 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 like we all were serving the play, and we all kind of pitched in to help the play and knew what the play wanted in different ways. And so I felt like a change there. I was like, oh, so this is what it's like when it kind of is symbiotic. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Which I hadn't had for a while in terms of new play development like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt very, very similar. Caitlin and I are friends. Like we do our play dates, our kids play together and stuff. And I was a bit scared because I was like, I don't know how we're gonna, like if, friends and working can be quite different.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't felt this connected to a director since I was in undergrad, I feel like, which I had a director that I was really connected with, did several plays with, new works of mine with. And I haven't felt that in a long time. And then I actually left the theater pretty much after grad school because I had a couple of really bad experiences. And I was just like, I'll go put my energy into yoga. And so I started a yoga business, and I hadn't really written anything that I was going to show to people and since like 5 years. So this is the first thing I've showed, and gotten back into the theater world with and worked and collaborated with. And I was just so, yeah, I'm of course getting emotional and so supported, but in love with the process again, in love with theater again, in a way that I didn't realize like I needed and that I was starving for again. So, and that was largely due to my relationship with Jen too, and Caitlin, and we would have a meeting and I would just feel so jazzed afterwards, like I can go to bed kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then also finding, Catherine and Charlotte to play these roles and collaborate with, it's just been an amazing thing. And I'll take that with me. I'll take that power to share story again with me for sure. It's just like lifted me up again.
Charlotte, what about you?
Oh geez, I have to talk now.
She's muted.
He wants you to, yeah.
Am I on there? What was it? No, I'm just listening and loving. I've said enough. Can we just? What's the question?
Well, I mean, if you want a button, that's okay.
Oh no, I didn't mean to like bully you. I'm like, I'll answer your question, but like I don't. I'm so moved. I'll just like, what was the question?
Yeah, we're just talking about how we're changed.
Yeah, how did this?
How we're changed.
Yeah.
How we're changed is that like I can have an experience where I think is like gonna be fulfilling and like something that's gonna like superficially like be like good for me. Like to me like the vagrancy is like rad. Like if I'm gonna work with the vagrancy, like that is the shit, and I'm gonna tell everybody. And I love them, and I love you guys. Everything you've ever done that I've ever seen is phenomenal. So I'm so proud of that. So like, let's just put that like as part of that. And then I read this. I mean, when I read the script, are you kidding me? Like it's just like we've gone through so many processes of the script, but this script to me was just astounding. And like the journey of like the character I might get to play was like something that like acting isn't therapy, but like I needed it and I wanted it, and I wanted to like do that and say that because it was Are we recording? I'm so embarrassed. This is okay. We're done with that. What was the question, Claire?
Next.
What was the question, Claire? Yeah, like I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
We'll fix it in
post.
post.
It's been a lot. The singing was a lot too. And then they gave me 3 songs. And they were like, sing Piece of My Heart. And then these other. And I was like, Caitlin's like, if you can do that, do you think you can do that? And I was like, well, and I thought, okay, if I say no, then I won't get to play the part. So I was like, I'll just say yes. And I'll figure out how to do it. Like, so that was my process. And it's been like 2 months of like, Caitlin, it has been 2 months of like terror of like how am I gonna like pull through, because I want this to be really good for you and Holly, and like, but it made me like a better singer. It made me realize that I can do it. So this process, like, and then fuck that, back to Holly and this play. Like this play is like I haven't wrote a play like this in like 5 years at least.
It's so good. It's so powerful.
That is this good. Yeah. And like, and like outside of like what it means to me to get to like say this stuff, what it means to me to get to read this stuff. And we've talked about like this is like, it's not about like systematic abuse. It's about like a relationship between like sisters. And it's about like a life you have where you're like, you're like not angry about what you like should be bitter about. And we're all like trying to figure out like how to like manage our life. Like this is where I'm at right now, and I'm not mad. Like that's what I feel like everybody's, I don't know, Billy's like, I'm not mad. Anyways, I'm on can't somebody save me. Okay,
Good job.
Okay. All right. So we have this is going to be our last question from the audience. David Sen asks, is that your man's?
That's my man.
That's your man's? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
That's your man.
Holly's man's asks, I still have one more day to watch, but I thought it was perfect. Who was the male character? I thought he was really good in a scary, dramatic way. I thought it was a really good performance.
That was Steve, David.
You didn't know that was Steve?
I guess not.
Whomever
Hello. You've met Steve multiple times.
Whomever asked didn't.
That's how good of an actor Steve was. He was unrecognizable.
I mean, he was
to his friends.
that was his friend who asked. Wait, what happened?
That was my man. That was my husband. He asked. And
met Steve.
And now it was him.
At least 3 times.
You got it at least 3 times.
He knows Steve.
He's
anyway.
Like, Steve for a minute. Who cares? This thing's lasted forever. Tell us about Steve. Why is he so good? What? He was good. Like he's like.
That's how we met. I was his director.
Oh, you liked him.
We waited until opening night. It was fine.
No, but there was a thing. Like what happened?
That's it. I actually had to replace.
That's it.
That's it. That's all we get.
Oh, I had to replace it. I was just doing a really intense show that had like 4-page monologues of the lead and the guy that I cast. I had a fever when I cast, and I knew this guy wasn't exactly right for it. And I was casting based on type and not his ability. Anyways, after like the second rehearsal, he was like, I can't memorize like 4-page monologue, right? And I was like, but you have to memorize a 4-page monologue. And he was just like, I can't do it. So I had to fire him. And so then whatever. He was like volunteering or getting $10 a show or something. I mean, we had to separate creative ways because he said he couldn't do the text. And so then Steve, I had met before, and then we had mutual friends. And so he came in and auditioned. That's the story.
No, that's not the story. It's not the story of how when he came in and he blew your fucking world. And
that's true.
Homie G can do it.
So charming. He was so good.
He is. It's hard to see your people sometimes.
I see.
Okay. He is your daddy. No, but I'm just saying, like, because I've never seen him, I'm like, wowza. Like watching it, like I just want him to know that. I think you might.
I will pass it on.
Maybe you need to hear it. Like I don't know who needs to hear. You guys have twins and you're fucked. Like I have no idea I don't know what the vibe is. Like it's probably like everybody's tired and needs love.
Pretty much.
Are we still on video?
Yeah, we're on live stream.
Okay. Sorry, everyone.
You don't need to be sorry. It's okay.
Can I like fade into oblivion?
I'll send this to the Grants.
No one's watching this anymore. Is anyone?
Like there are people watching. Yeah. We have
yeah. Wait, our friends. Do we only have
Charlotte.
What? Am I ruining it?
Everybody's
Fire
watching.
me
There's so
now.
many people watching right now.
Who?
You're not ruining
I'm
it.
not. No, I
Thousands of
love
people.
them. They're
All right,
amazing.
last
I would
question,
watch
last
it.
Okay, last question. Last question.
This is gonna be our last question. It's
One word.
it's just
I'm muting myself.
real simple. Do you have any final words or affirmations that you'd like to leave the audience with? Since it was a super heavy play, you know, do you have anything lighter to leave the audience with maybe? Or do you have like final words that you'd like to leave to people who maybe have experienced similar traumas to Billy and Cameron? It's a big either or, so you can take your time.
A lighter experience to that.
If you'd like to leave them with like an affirmation or
I
something.
mean, I want to know what everyone else has to say because
All I have to say is just that, like, I feel like this type of play is not everyone's cup of tea, which is totally okay. I'm sorry, mine is not like super intimate and heartfelt. It's more like business minded. But I'm like, my final word is to, like, you know, like, challenge your friends to, you know, see plays like this, and if you're in the community, you know, challenge people to go outside of their comfort zone and see a play like this and support a play like this and support theaters like this, because I do think that this kind of dialogue and conversation and people seeing their stories and their traumas reflected on stage is like a part of kind of general community healing. Maybe that's cheesy, maybe not, I don't know.
yeah, no, 100%.
I don't think that's cheesy at all.
No.
I can say it any better either. Just like community healing. Let's all, you know, do that. And I feel like this play is one little seed for that.
I feel like Cameron's epilogue kind of sums up like a lot of things, you know, she says, I choose to love. So choose to live.
I've been like, I got some. Wait, I got a final. Am I not? Should I not? Should
It's
I?
up to you.
You was laughing.
Decide.
You have 10 seconds, Charlotte, because it's been 90 minutes.
Okay, well, I won't respond to the last question. Like, do I not get to? No, I just wanted to like, fuck, Caitlin, you ruined it for me.
I'm
I
sorry.
don't know what to say anymore. I forget the question. It's all lost.
I'm sorry.
No, I like, look, if you've been through, like, I think what this is about, like, at least for Billy and my character, and like for this experience, what I understand from it is that, like, I can what's up, Steve? I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Now I just feel lost. And that
That's okay.
it is okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel that
You don't
way.
have to say anything.
I know. I don't.
I think you've left
Oh,
the audience with plenty to think about,
I know.
especially just like in the way that you played Billy.
No, but I just feel okay, I can like get myself
Okay.
together. for a
Okay.
second. Just
All
a
right.
second. Okay.
All right.
Okay. So I think for me that, like, going through this experience and the things that, like, have hurt me so deeply, like, in my family and in my life, where it's been so wrong. And then for me personally, I don't know about anybody else, but I have become that. And that's been a part of who I am, to get what I want, or to communicate what I want in a way that came from my past, the way that I reflect that now. And I have no shame about it. It seems so natural. And I think that this play is so much about like how we like this like transgenerational experience, and how we like there isn't a judgment. Like we live in a world where there's so much judgment. Now I'm going going off too much, but there's so much judgment about like how we react to, how we relate to each other, and how we react to each other, and like how we have to do it perfectly and like and politically correctly and do it right. But the truth is like we just need to find our own way. And good Lord, get the camera off of me.
Okay, we will.
Thank you.
Right, we will. I think that was really beautiful, and I think that a lot of people who are watching can resonate with that. But you know, I also understand that it is late, so we're gonna wrap here. Thank you guys so much for being a part of it, and for being a part of, you know, lending your talents and time to this production. All of you who are here on the call, and then all of you guys who are watching, thank you so much for sharing space with us tonight. And huge thank you to the Vagrancy, of course, for putting on this incredible series of Blossoming 2021. Have a